I overheard her telling the clan that she wouldn't even mess with a man who couldn't put at least $1,000 in her hand on demand at any given time. She was a gold digger. Not the kind born with a silver spoon who was used to money, no. She was nouveau riche. She earned extra cash by shaking her ass and outwitting dummies. Now, you would have thought she actually struck gold when she first discovered coochie control and realized that a sucker would dang to sell his soul just for the possibility of sticking his worm inside of a wet hole. And that changed her whole perception of men. From then on, she despised and was dejected by them. She had very little to no respect for men, so she just manipulated and collected them. Like bobblehead figurines on a roller coaster, even thugged out G's with shoulder holsters were yes men to her every whim, and those rich playboy mother, oh, she loved to get them. It was like a chess match between two of the deadliest sins: greed versus lust, coochie versus money, women versus men. Well, at least in her mind, there was a battle between genders, and she had been waging that war for as long as she could remember. Ever since Uncle What's-His-Name touched her when she was a young tender, she's been taking no prisoners, no retreat, no surrender. And the reason she treats him like that is because every time a buster approaches her, she sees that bastard's face and she hears his repulsive voice and she remembers the way his nasty tongue tasted, like cheap wine and freebase. He used to stick his tongue in her mouth when he was doing his business and tell her that this is how grown folk make love. So, no wonder she was telling her clan that she wouldn't even mess with a man who couldn't put at least $1,000 in her hand on demand at any given time. She was a gold digger. Now I can dig a good hustle with gold digging and discuss Phetote, so I discussed the situation with Phetote because sometimes the only brother I can trust is Phetote. So I said, should we give her a chance? And I said, yes, we must, Phetote. Because no one deserves to be haunted by daunting memories of perverted violations, trapped in a nightmare molestation because of some sick mother temptation that got her feeling like she's the villain just because a pedophile found her appealing in her Sunday dress, which was far from revealing, but left a young juvenile squealing with the legs to the ceiling. So, yeah, she has a chip on her shoulder, more immense than Colorado's boulder. And yeah, she's liable to scold you quicker than she'll sweet talk you or hold you. But that's because she was robbed of her jewels, and that's the reason she digs for gold. But even the purest of hearts freeze when it's been treated so cold. So I concocted a plot hard enough to melt the ice that had formulated around the spot. The compassion forgot when she was but a young tot with the hymen intact, when baby had innocence before baby had back. Because she deserves to get her joy back. And I'm gonna make sure she gets that. Even though I did overhear her telling her clan that she wouldn't even mess with a man who couldn't put at least $1,000 in her hand on demand at any given time. She was a gold digger. So, not to put my foot in my mouth, I didn't want to come across like a typical buster with introductions cluttered with lust and like the last 2 or 3 busters saying, "Ooh, girl, I would eat your groceries and drink your bath water." Doesn't he realize that's somebody's daughter? So to avoid putting my foot in my mouth, I put a love letter on the napkin. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not the save or woe captain, but love at first sight in my world happens. I am Phetote. So I wrote, "Dear Miss Understood. I won't bore you with redundant flattery that merely repeats the obvious. The reflection from a mirror can echo your appearance. You already know how exquisite your body is. Your physical attraction is obvious. Besides, how lovely you look has absolutely nothing to do with the love within your soul that you long to release, but the bitterness withholds. How could he do that to his niece? The anguish takes its toll, but you just want the pain to cease. You're labeled the digger of gold, but the treasure you seek is peace. And I understand you just want to go to the market without being sweated for your number, and lately dating's got you contemplating trading men for hot girl summers, and I realize your initial impression is that this is game that I'm expression, and my aim is your Kit Kat, and I'll change once I hit that, but I assure you, my intentions are pure. I just want to caress your essence and be the blessing you long for. If it ain't right, I will be wrong for loving you unconditionally through thick and thin until death does me. But first I must get to know thee. Sincerely yours, I am Phetote. And then tears begin to cascade down her lovely face, and she neatly folded like a napkin and put the epistles in her coach bag and said, "Thank you. Why did you write this?" And I said, "'Cause I'm gonna be your man. And I overheard you telling your clan that you would even mess with a man who couldn't put at least a grand in your hand on demand at any given time. And the kind word is worth millions. I am Phetote Mshairi. An old fart in 1,000 sentiments. Launch party, February 9th. 112 North Boston, downtown Tulsa. Flagship, Tulsa Artist Fellowship. It's gonna be a party, y'all. Oh, and it's free.